everyone, and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 5th of December 2022. We're in December already, and that means that we're probably, I don't know, what's that now, about halfway through the World Cup, so we're only 10 days away from competitive action for Rangers, and I'm starting to get to the spot now where I'm looking forward to seeing them again. I was a wee bit mad at them for a while there, I don't mind admitting. Anyway, it's Gary here again, and I hope that you all had a good week under, once again, relatively stress-free conditions as it relates to Rangers anyway, as the World Cup that I mentioned continues to march on and our new manager and his staff settles in with the players back at Auchenhowie, or the Rangers Training Centre, or whatever it is we're supposed to call it these days, in preparation for what's it's a kind of a weird reintroduction back into domestic action when we get going. Firstly, we'll start back before the World Cup final, which means that we'll have Borna Barisic missing, as he'll still be prepping for the final, based on the way things are going right now. You never know, of course. And secondly, our games, I don't know if you've looked at the schedule, or the fixture list, I guess I should say, for our return back to domestic action, but it's a wee bit weird when we come back and we play a wee bit of catch-up post-World Cup, of course, and also head into the festive season. So here's what you can expect from a games overview. First game, as I mentioned, is Thursday the 15th against Hibs. So that's an 8 PM UK kick-off time. Then we are away to Aberdeen the following Tuesday, and that's also an 8 PM UK kick-off time. That's 3 PM Eastern Standard Time. And then we're away to Ross County on Friday the 23rd. I wonder if we come back from the northeast, or we just stick around up there when we've got two games in 3 or 4 days, I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, and that's a 7:30 kick-off, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. And then we're at home to Motherwell on Wednesday the 28th, and that's 7:45 UK kick-off time, and that's 2:45 Eastern Standard Time over here in North America. And then we're at home to that mob from the East End on Monday, January the 2nd, and that's 12:30 PM UK kick-off time, 7:30 AM Eastern Standard Time. And then away to Dundee United on Sunday. So our first weekend game is our 6th game back, and it's a Sunday. And that's a kind of weird time as well, 4 PM UK, that's 11 AM Eastern Standard Time. So Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, Wednesday, Monday, Sunday in our return. Isn't that interesting? 5 midweek games, 1 weekend game, 3 at home, 3 away, and then the very next game after that is the semi-final against Aberdeen on the Sunday in January there. Interesting. Just thought I'd share that. I wonder what Michael Beale thinks about that fixture list. Is it possible to claw back some of the 9 points during that initiating period? I sure hope it is. Is it possible to go even further behind the 9 points that we are right now, especially because there's an Old Firm game in there? Ooh, I don't know. If Gio was still in charge, I'd say most certainly yes, that is a possibility. So I guess the good thing is maybe on this occasion that the Old Firm game is game number 5 of those 6, and we'll have 4 games before that to see what Michael Beale is truly going to get from the team during that time. Right now, I'd like to take I would take actually as going into the Old Firm game 9 points behind. I'd take that right now and then give it a good go and get it down to 6 points and then have them starting to think. But ideally, in that first 4 games, we claw back a couple more points here and there before then. But, just please, Michael, don't be any further behind by January the 2nd, and then we'll just see what happens after that. Anyway, so, I guess that's kind of the games segment that I covered in the introduction for this week, and I don't really have any more to add other than this weekend's friendly game against Bayer Leverkusen on Saturday the 10th of December, and that's a 1 PM kick-off time, which is, 1 PM, I don't know, 7 PM, 6 or 7 AM and on the Eastern. I don't have it written down in my notes, so I don't know exactly what the time is. But the game is this weekend. It'll be Michael Beale's first game in charge, and we'll see if he gives the players a good run out, and what the crowd looks like, and get a chance just to kind of bed them back in a friendly type environment. Other than that, from a game segment perspective, it's all just a World Cup, isn't it? And what I'd like to do, other than talk about the World Cup, is just talk about what we did here was we had a family, I don't know if I mentioned this before or not, but we had a family overview of the World Cup, and then we decided to do a family pool. And then the family pool was a, in inverted commas, random draw generator from the internet. I heard it, and then what's transpired since then is that I was knocked out in the very first round. Without any knockout games or anything like that. All my teams were out, so that's kind of crap. So I'd just like to say a thank you to Chloe Carey for rigging things completely the way she did, because actually Erin, my love, she was also put out as well, and I believe that my sister Debbie was put out when the USA got put out on the weekend as well. So kind of rigged to suit Chloe and her agenda, just to win the money. If you need money that much, why don't you just ask to borrow it, or just take it some other way instead of pretending it's an actual competition? Chloe, up to you how you live your life, of course, just trying to provide a wee bit of guidance and advice from someone who's a wee bit more experienced at this sort of thing. Anyway, so for shout outs, I should maybe put that in the shout out, shouldn't I? For shout outs this week, I did want to pass on sincere congratulations to NARSA VP Brian Campbell, who last week went through his 3-month checkup post cancer operation. That was last Tuesday, and he got the all clear from the doctor, who confirmed that the PSA, which I researched as the prostate specific antigen, is undetectable. So that's just absolutely fantastic news for Brian Gaynor and the entire Campbell family, of course. And once again, if we ever needed any reminding of the benefits of early detection, Brian is literally living, breathing proof of just that. So good on you, Brian. Well done, mate. And I'm very, very happy for you all. And what about this one as well? Not specifically Rangers related, but might be at some point down the line. The Stephanie Frappart made history last Thursday as the first woman to referee a men's World Cup match, taking charge of the Germany versus Costa Rica final Group E game in Qatar, and alongside assistants who were both women as well, one from Mexico and one from Brazil. It was an all-female trio for the first time in World Cup history, and she has already got experience at the top level, having been the first female referee to take charge of a League One match back in 2019, and then in 2020 she was the first to officiate a men's Champions League match as well. So I think that's absolutely amazing. I didn't actually know that. I didn't see that game or anything. I didn't really read anything about it, but just thought I'd share that, and think that's, it's a bit progressive, and, the way that the world is moving. And I know that for a fact my dad would be having a fit if he were to witness that. He wasn't a fan of women in men's sports. His words, not mine. Don't jump on me for that. But I would have loved to have had a conversation with him about that, just to rile him up on that. But yeah, good on Stephanie for doing that and creating a bit of history there as well. For the convention update for this week, I can officially confirm that it's 191 days and 27 weeks until Toronto Midtown do what they're going to do in mid-June next year and host the biggest Rangers bash of the overseas calendar, and that's terrific now. So yeah, the weeks are fair drawing in, I think it's fair to say. And I'd just like to, the update is fairly similar to last week's, just a reminder actually that we have the hotel rooms out for public sale, and they are selling very well right now. So we have now, 10 days left of the early bird rate, where you'll save $14 per night for your hotel room bookings. I've only got one more opportunity, and that's next week, to remind you of that. So if you are planning on attending, don't wait and cost yourself, between 42 and whatever else amount of dollars, depending on the amount of rooms that you're booking and the duration that you're going for. Just try and get it booked up for now. I don't believe they take a deposit for this booking. So if you go ahead and get that organised before the 15th, then you can sleep better knowing that you've got a wee bit of money in the kitty to buy the first couple of beers or whatever it is your tipple is when you get there. And another reminder of the full packages that are out for sale for the Holiday and Flight Centre. If you go to attheconvention.com, you'll get to see everything that you are looking for there. And just another reminder, that is a one-stop shop of everything that you'll need from the UK specifically. You'll get your flights, you'll get your transfers in Toronto, you'll get your hotel rooms, and you'll get your event tickets for all 3 nights under one umbrella. And I know those are selling well as well, so please, please, please don't procrastinate on that if you're thinking about coming over next year, because everything's all a wee bit tighter than it was before in terms of our ability to extend packages or, you know, get more guests there, because it's just jam-packed. Now, in terms of the convention tickets, I did say last week that we were in the final throes of getting those organised and getting those out for sale. And what we were doing was we were doing final testing. Essentially, I'd mentioned the 4 different facets of our testing part and how we go about everything that we have to do to get the tickets on sale. We did our final testing and everything went great. The money flowed into the NARSA bank account, so that was great. And then I checked my credit card and I noticed a charge from one of the component parts of the systems that we use. That was a charge to my credit card directly, and because that's the card that's on file for right now. So we had to do a wee bit of investigation on that over the weekend to find out why that was the case. And what actually happened was there was what they call a box account, and the box account that they had sorted there was our US dollars account. We have subsequently changed it to our Canadian account because it's in Canada this year and the funds will be received in Canadian dollars. And that did something funky to the system. I know this is very boring, but I just wanted to let you know why the delay has occurred. So we got that organised, we got that fixed today, and we've done a final test again today with a ticket purchase. We should see that flow through to the bank account probably Thursday, Friday this week. Once I double check that no charges have went on a credit card, everything is okay on that, then we will be good to put it out for NARSA members and have them get their couple of weeks. So I did say it would be guaranteed we would have it organised by the end of the World Cup break. That might be just a wee bit later than that, but certainly before Christmas. So if you're looking to surprise anyone for Christmas with NARSA 2023 tickets, will still be on general sale long before Christmas time as well. Just one of these nuisance things that happens in the background that a lot of people don't see, and you know, my commitment to everyone is to kind of open the curtains a wee bit on how we do business here. And it was just a little bit of a glitch and something we didn't expect or anticipate, so that's just caused a wee bit of a delay on that. But as I say, everything all being well, we should have the tickets out there for NARSA members and friends on roughly probably Friday. I think that's what the target will be. If it can be any earlier, we will certainly do that. And just another reminder that the NARSA exec are going to be in Toronto the first weekend in February, the February 3rd to the 5th, for a hotel walkthrough, a liaise with the Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club organising staff, and of course our general meeting, which is going to be that weekend as well. As I've promised the last few pods, the more logistics, once we know them, will be forthcoming. And if you are in or around the area and fancy getting together, we might try and organise a wee night, maybe on the Friday or something, maybe on the Saturday. Maybe the Saturday would be better. I don't know. We'll figure that out. I'm not so much the guy that can organise these things so well. I just throw out the odd idea and usually someone else puts it into action. So yeah, so that's early February, and as I mentioned before, we are starting to reach out to our VIP guests, and I had direct contact with one of them today, hoping to get an opportunity to talk to him directly this week sometime, and then maybe get the confirmation of that out for next week's pod as well. But things are moving in the right direction on all the fronts that they need to be moving in for the convention, so that is good news. And one of the last things that we'll get going on once we have the tickets out there properly for sale is our frequently asked questions document on the website, that you can get all the information you need in terms of what you would need to know for the convention planning and the events and periphery things in and around the convention as well. We did indeed have our NARSA meeting last week that I mentioned, and some of the highlights that we talked around was, you know, basically planning for the forthcoming general meeting and what we're going to be covering at that particular one. We've planned, and we're now in the process of going through basically a scrub or a thorough review of our website, and part of the website is hosted in there is our constitution as well, and the constitution, that we're going to be proposing some changes to the constitution coming up here at the AGM in June, and to do that we need to really go through and have a scrub of the stuff that's maybe a wee bit dated, maybe somewhat obsolete now in terms of the way that we structure and run our business and things like that as we go forward. So we need to kind of just have a wee bit of a foundation part of the conversation so that we're in good shape to be able to make the appropriate decisions as we go forward, to get ourselves organised for you know, making sure everything, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and all that sort of thing, and get ourselves a wee bit organised as well. One thing that we have been looking at is our admin structure for NARSA over the last while, and it's something that's been percolating for a wee while. We you know, mostly everything other than Las Vegas 2022 got put on the back burner to make sure that we concentrated on Las Vegas 2022, and we did that as well. So we got ourselves kind of organised there in terms of you know, hosting the convention. So we're now back to the day-to-day business. So our admin structure to make sure that we can kind of trade properly within Canada and within North America, let me just say, within Canada and America, and you know, kind of give us a wee bit of a platform to maybe expand our operations, if you like. And I'm being purposely vague here right now because I'm not 100% sure what that could mean for us yet. We had a bit of a conversation in and around that as well, and to also to modernise our banking as well, so that when we get to the conventions, that we are able to take electronic payments as well. We did notice in Vegas there that we had a bit of a challenge sometimes where people were saying, I don't have cash, I do want to buy a raffle ticket, or I would like to get involved in the auction, but I don't have any cash, can't you just take a credit card payment? And we weren't in a position to be able to do that, so we're going to get that organised as well. From an RTV angle, we will be getting a call set up with David Melvin here just to kind of figure out and plan what's going to be next in terms of RTV for the remainder of the season and beyond. So more to follow on that as well, and then just get ourselves more organised in terms of what that looks like. And we also talked about New York 2024 and getting going on that as well. So we're in decent shape in terms of the call. I think the call was about 1 hour and 40 minutes. We had a good laugh at that, and at the very end of the call, our communications director revealed that he was so quiet on the call because he forgot his teeth, or he lost his teeth, or for whatever happened, his teeth were taken from him as some sort of punishment. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but the poor fella had to sit there and just listen. For most, I shouldn't laugh, but it was kind of funny, you know. So my apologies, Fraser, but good on you for attending the meeting and contributing. And he has a few of the action items there to take away in terms of doing the scrub of the website and the Constitution and the like as well. So quite shortly you'll see the notification coming out for the general meeting, including the minutes of the annual general meeting and stuff like that. Our finances will go up to probably to the end of November. Those will be the most accurate ones that we'll be able to share in advance, and then we can review a bit more of the updated financials at the actual meeting itself. So yeah, so somewhat kind of uninteresting if you're not interested in the inner workings of NARSA, but you know, it's the sort of stuff that we have to do to keep this machine moving. On the communication front from this past week, the main news was, of course, for me anyway, the settling in of the manager, Michael Beale, and part of that was his official unveiling, which ended up occurring last Thursday, which is quite unusual for me. I thought, you know, usually you get the announcement and then the unveiling is like within 24 hours, maybe even the same day sometimes, but there was a few days of a lag there. I'm sure it was just the way that things worked out. But the actual official unveiling took place, I should say, last Thursday in the Blue Room at Ibrox. And one thing that I thought was interesting when Michael Beale finally walked through the door, that there wasn't the regular, you know, snapping of the camera shutters like you normally hear. It was just dead silent, and I'm assuming that was either folks are just doing it with silent cameras now, or there's no need to take photographs anymore, or they're doing it on their phones, and the phones are just as quality as the other ones or whatever. But it was dead silent. Usually there's the flashing and all that kind of thing. Didn't see any of that, and that kind of, I don't know, it was just different than what I'm used to and different to what I've seen before, and just thought that was interesting. I thought I'd mention that. And the second thing was that our chairman, Mr. Douglas Park, wasn't there either. So I did a little bit of inch-high, private-eye investigation on this, and did notice that Mr. Park also wasn't at Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's unveiling last year either. So I guess it's either not the actual tradition that the chairman would be there. I kind of thought it was, but I'm maybe just thinking back to when Stephen Gerrard was announced and Dave King happened to be in the country at the time and was there. Or maybe it's just not the chairman's forte at all. In terms of, you know, public presence, he doesn't have that. And really, truly thinking overall about Mr. Park's overall public presence, he's certainly a more reserved character, publicly a more reserved character, if I can say that. I don't know him personally at all, but just in comparison with, say, for example, like a Dave King or a David Murray, and it's not a criticism at all that his personality is his personality and their personality is their personality as well. I just thought it was a wee bit interesting that he wasn't even there, even just kind of sitting at the edge of the table in support. Anyway, you know, the main man of the show, of course, was Michael Beale, and he took some questions. Yeah, I have to say, some of them kind of stupid, to be perfectly honest. You know, like a journalist is sitting there saying, I'm in the privileged position of being able to be part of history, which is what Thursday was, and I've got an opportunity to ask the new guy a question. This is a question I'm going to ask. How do you feel about QPR being mad at you for leaving? Like something like that. Come on, you must be better than that. But anyway, back to Michael Beale. I thought he answered the questions very, very well, and you can tell that he has a bigger, bolder, more charismatic personality than Giovanni. Again, not a criticism of Giovanni at all. You know, people's personalities are their personalities, and they have to stay true to those. But I can imagine the players, and in fact, you know, the whole first team playing staff, including the players, being just a wee bit more inspired by more charismatic characteristics like Michael Beale has, maybe, other than the more reserved nature of Giovanni. And I think Beale certainly has that charisma, and he talks very well. He said all the right things. He talked a lot about tradition and repeated a number of times, you know, the importance of not talking too big, in terms of, you know, him promising this is what's going to happen, or you can expect to see this, or here we go, or anything like that, and just concentrating on winning the next game, you know. And he emphasised that, just concentrate on winning the next game. I don't know, I think he just has an air, for me anyway, an air of believability about him. He has a very strong CV, certainly on the coaching side, and he brought in a very experienced backroom staff, which the Rangers communications department has done a really good job of kind of promoting that as well this past week. And he, of course, the biggest thing is he has history and tenure with the club. He just seems to get it, quite frankly. And as I said more than once last week, I do wish him all the very best. I can't wait to see what his tenure brings. Saturday's game against Bayer Leverkusen will be no, you know, litmus test or any other, you know, genuine measuring stick of what that's going to bring. It will be the Hibs game the following Thursday that's really going to truly give us an idea of that. But just imagine for a second that there was a 9-point turnaround this season. Could you imagine that mob from the East End? I think they would literally spontaneously combust, you know, based on what they did when the 55 season was unfurling and unfolding in front of their eyes, and they just had a meltdown. I can't see it happening, you know, based on the 15 games that we've seen thus far. However, still 23 games to go, folks, and the fact that of those 9 points, we lost 7 of those in the 5 games leading up to the World Cup. So, I mean, that was just a hell of a tumultuous period for us. I know we lost points before that, but 7 of the 9 points were lost in the 5 games immediately preceding the World Cup. So you just never know. And as he said, let's just concentrate on beating Hibs, and then we'll move on to the subsequent games from there. Secondly, on the communication front, there is the AGM this week. In fact, by the time you listen to this, likely the AGM will already be done and dusted, as it's tomorrow morning. I believe it's 10:30 a.m. UK time or Scotland time. So that's what's that? 2:30. No, sorry, 3:30 a.m. my time and 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I did indeed manage to get my voting in absentia, which is great. And I have to say, the process to do that through the Tifosi site was very, very slick. And you know, quite personally, you know, selfishly a wee bit, it does feel good to be able to contribute in a meaningful way as a shareholder now. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. I'm sure It'll be a wee bit less dramatic now that we have Michael Beale in place and the ability for the leadership and hierarchy at the club to say, we know it wasn't good enough, we've made a change and we now have the new manager there, so you have to give them time, and there's no point in continuing to discuss this if people kind of if people comment on what happened in the first 15 games of the domestic season, and of course the disastrous Champions League campaign as well. So cynically, you could say it was kind of cute timing by the club, but I'm a glass half full sort of guy, so I think it was obvious to me just over time. In fact, it was actually over time that it was time to relieve Giovanni of his duties, as it just wasn't working the way that we needed it to. So good luck to everyone for the AGM tomorrow, and I'll be really interested to see what happened at it when I wake up. And finally, I don't know if you had a chance to check out part 1 of Dave King's interview with Club 1872 that I'd mentioned last week on last week's pod. And that interview, or Q&A, was done on November 21st. And since then, Club 1872 have posted part 2. And again, there was more interesting stuff in there. I'm not sure when there's going to be a third and I believe final part of that, and I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm very much looking forward to that as well. So for part 2, the main highlights for me was he made a point again of reinforcing, so realizing that this is part of one big session, you know, it's just, it was in its entirety, so anything that he repeated, he's just kind of reinforcing a point that he made, you know, 20, 30, 45 minutes before it, whatever it is. But he did make a point of reinforcing the fact that Steven Gerrard was forced out of the club. Now, I don't know that he was literally told to leave the club. I don't think that's what Dave means, but just in terms of the club's behaviours and the club's inability or unwillingness to back Steven in moving things to the next level, just basically had him saying, I'm on a hiding to nothing here. If something better comes in, I'm certainly going to take a look at it. Now, one funny thing, just a wee bit of an aside on Steven Gerrard. When he left, everyone who listens to this pod, or who has for a long time, will know that my feelings were hurt big time when he left. I really enjoyed him being manager. I loved all his press conferences. He was just a big presence for the club, and the way he left was just out of order. Totally, completely out of order. But some folks who are funnier than me had said, you know, he's basically leaving Rangers to go to Aston Villa, which is a surefire, you know, stepping stone to get himself onto Sky Sports as a pundit, because that's the way that things will head. Lo and behold, not even a year in charge of Villa, he gets the sack, and then there's this World Cup advert for Hyundai that he stars in. The game's not over yet. We're all doing our part. It's about, you know, the global warming and you know, treating the planet well and stuff like that. A little bit cheesy. It kind of made me laugh a wee bit, if I'm being dead honest. You know, so it's not even Sky Sports yet. He's doing Hyundai adverts just to keep himself in the spotlight. I'm sure he didn't pick the timing. I'm sure it was done and organised a long time ago, but kind of ha-ha on that one. It made me chuckle a wee bit. Back to Dave. Anyway, he also spoke about his feelings around the resolutions for tomorrow's AGM and was very clear about where he was going to be voting, and he stated very clearly that he will not be voting for Douglas Park to be voted back on to the board. And then you might have heard or seen today that also Club 1872 have come out and said the exact same, that they will not be voting for Douglas Park to come back onto the board as well. I don't know if that will be material in terms of you know, enough votes to you know, oust him from the board or not. I don't know enough about that sort of stuff to comment on it properly, so you know, we'll just leave it at that and see what happens there. And finally, you know, he also did say, and once again mentioned, his distaste at the job that David Graham did during his tenure as communications director with the club. So I think it's fair to say, or safe to say, that they are not, and likely will not, ever be friends ever again, if they ever were at some point. Just such an interesting tact for Dave to take, to, you know, to essentially attack someone who's no longer there, you know, which is essentially, you know, trying to undermine or destabilise the folks who are still there. You know, you guys made a bad decision with this guy, and kind of go on about it. And interesting. I don't know. You know, I can just comment on what I hear and what I see, and I think it's an interesting tact. So as I said last week, if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. You can go check it out. And there's a wee bit of audio issues through Zoom on the second one, so some of it cuts out and things, but nothing too bad. You'll get the gist of it, and they've got subtitles on it as well, so you can follow along if the audio isn't so great. So yeah, I'd encourage you to go and check it out if that's your bag. And one last thing that I heard, I think it was just earlier today, I didn't even put it in my notes for today, was that Glenn Kamara was voted Finnish Player of the Year for the first time. I believe it was the first time as well. So good on him for doing that. I imagine a lot of that was his performances in the Europa League run last year. It certainly couldn't have been a lot of the stuff that he's done for us this year, because he's been a marginal bit part shadow of his former self, quite frankly. So here's hoping. Michael Beale talked him up during his preliminary interviews last week, so here's hoping we get a really good shift out of Glenn Kamara and we get him back to being his best, because at his best he was a guy that was able to dictate and dominate games as well. So congratulations. I should have probably said that in the shout outs earlier, but it just dawned on me as I was going through the latter part there. Anyway, my friends, that's going to do it for this week. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Please do share this with whomever you think might enjoy it, as we continue to try and cast our net a wee bit wider. And until next week, I hope you have a good and restful week and build up your energies for the Leverkusen game, and for, most importantly, the Hibs game next week. And we'll see how much of a managerial wizard we truly have in Mr. Michael Beale. So until then, my friends, please do take care of yourselves, and all the very best. Cheerio.